The 7 types of homes you should never visit in your later years introduction, the hidden cost of the wrong spaces. Have you ever stepped into a place and felt an unshakable weight on your shoulders? A sense that your presence was merely tolerated, not genuinely welcomed? A space where conversations feel hollow, smiles don't quite reach the eyes, and the air carries an unspoken discomfort? Maybe you've walked into a family gathering, expecting warmth, only to be met with distant gazes and forced politeness. Or perhaps an old friend invites you over, but the moment you arrive, you sense their mind is elsewhere, distracted, disengaged, as if you are an obligation rather than a guest. These experiences may seem subtle, but they hold a powerful truth. Your environment has a profound impact on your well-being. As we grow older, we begin to understand something we once ignored. Our time and energy are our most valuable resources. We no longer have the patience to seek validation, entertain false connections, or force ourselves into spaces that steal our peace. The Stoics teach us that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of intentionality, choosing carefully who and what we allow into our lives. Yet, many people fail to apply this wisdom and continue to enter homes that drain their energy rather than restore it. The silent thieves of your peace homes, where you are met with indifference, where your presence feels like an inconvenience. Homes filled with tension, unresolved conflict, and an undercurrent of negativity. Homes where you are only valued for what you provide, rather than for who you are. In our youth, we may have dismissed these feelings, convincing ourselves that we were imagining things or making excuses for people's coldness. But as we mature, we must learn to listen to what our energy is telling us. If a place consistently makes you feel drained, uncomfortable, or undervalued, then it is not a space meant for you. We must protect our peace with the same vigilance that we protect our physical health. Because just as a toxic meal can poison the body, a toxic environment can poison the mind and spirit. Not every door deserves to be knocked on. There are homes where your presence is celebrated. There are homes where your laughter is welcomed. There are homes where you leave feeling lighter, not heavier. These are the places where your energy flourishes rather than diminishes. But then, there are other homes. Homes that make you feel unseen, unheard, or unappreciated. Homes where every visit feels like a burden, where you walk in with hope but leave with regret. Homes where judgment lingers in the air, unspoken but deeply felt. These are the homes you must learn to avoid, no matter how free or available you may be. Because self-respect means choosing peace over obligation. What you'll learn today in this video, we will explore 7 types of homes you should never visit in your later years. Some may seem obvious, while others may be disguised behind familiarity and tradition. But by the end, you will have the clarity to recognize why walking away from certain spaces is not an act of selfishness, but an act of wisdom. Because peace is not found in seeking approval, it is found in knowing where you truly belong. Have you ever walked away from a toxic environment? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else find the courage to do the same. Now, let's begin. 1. The home where you are not genuinely welcome. Have you ever stepped into a home and immediately felt a sense of tension in the air? The kind where conversations feel rehearsed, smiles appear strained, and eye contact is fleeting? A place where you are acknowledged but never truly embraced? You can feel it in the small things, the way the host greets you with polite indifference, their voice lacking the warmth you once knew. Or perhaps they seem distracted, their eyes flickering toward the clock, subtly measuring the time until your departure. Maybe you've even tried convincing yourself that you were imagining things. You tell yourself, they're probably just busy, or maybe it's just an off day. But deep down, you know the truth. You are tolerated, not cherished. The warmth that once existed has faded, replaced by an invisible wall of detachment. And the hardest part? You may not even know why. The cost of staying where you are not wanted. The Stoics teach us that our time and energy are among our most valuable possessions. Yet, too many people waste years trying to fit into spaces that do not truly welcome them. Seneca reminds us, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. If time is the one thing we can never reclaim, why should we spend it in places where we are not truly wanted? Have you ever left a gathering feeling smaller than when you arrived? Have you ever sat in a room, surrounded by people, yet felt completely alone? Have you ever forced conversation, only to be met with short, disinterested replies? That's not just bad energy, that's a clear sign that you don't belong there anymore. The difference between being tolerated and being valued there is a stark contrast between being invited somewhere out of habit versus being welcomed out of genuine appreciation. In a home where you are valued, your presence brings joy, your conversations matter, and your energy is reciprocated. In a home where you are merely tolerated, your presence is met with politeness but not warmth. You feel like a guest in a place where you should feel at home. At some point, you must ask yourself, am I here because they genuinely want me here or because they feel obligated? Do I feel energized and uplifted in this space, or do I feel emotionally drained? If the answer leans toward obligation and emotional depletion, then it's time to reconsider why. You keep returning. Why people stay in places that no longer feel like home. It's not easy to accept that a space you once felt connected to no longer welcomes you the same way. Many people continue visiting homes where they no longer feel wanted because of nostalgia. They remember how things used to be and hope it will return to that. Guilt, they worry about being judged if they stop showing up. Obligation, they feel pressure to maintain connections, even if those connections are one-sided. But here's the truth. Your history with someone does not obligate you to tolerate an environment that makes you feel unwelcome. A wise person knows when to hold on and when to let go. The courage to walk away. If you ever feel like an obligation rather than a guest, take it as a lesson. The moment you realize you are not valued, the moment you sense that your presence is more of a courtesy than a desire, that is when you must make a choice. Do you continue investing your energy in a place that doesn't uplift you, or do you choose to protect your peace and seek spaces where you are genuinely welcomed? The right choice becomes obvious when you view it through the lens of self-respect. Your energy is sacred, guard it well. There is nothing noble about forcing yourself into spaces that no longer align with your soul. Your energy is sacred, guard it well. Because the reality is this, the people who truly value you will never make you feel like an inconvenience. They won't treat you like a guest in their presence. They won't make you second-guess your worth. They won't leave you questioning if you should have come at all. Instead, they will make it clear, through actions, not just words, that your presence is wanted, valued, and appreciated. And that is where you should choose to invest your time. So, the next time you walk into a home and feel unwelcome, don't force yourself to stay. Walk away, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. 2. The home where drama and negativity rule. Some homes are not sanctuaries, they are battlegrounds. The moment you step inside, you can feel it. The energy is heavy, the air thick with resentment and tension. Conversations are not about growth, ideas, or joy, but about who is to blame, who has wronged whom, and why nothing is ever good enough. Instead of being a place of peace and restoration, this home consumes your energy. Gossip flows like an endless stream, suffocating any sense of sincerity. Conflicts erupt over the smallest matters, feeding a cycle of unnecessary drama. Voices are raised, not in joy, but in accusation. What should be a gathering of connection and support turns into a theater of arguments, complaints, and unresolved grudges. And worst of all, if you are not careful, you might get pulled into it. The invisible cost of negative environments. The Stoics understood that the environment we immerse ourselves in shapes our state of mind. Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." Your surroundings are not neutral. They either nourish you or drain you. A home filled with negativity does not simply affect you in the moment, it lingers. It follows you long after you leave. Have you ever walked into a home and instantly felt drained, as if the very walls carried the weight of past arguments? Have you ever left a gathering feeling emotionally exhausted instead of fulfilled? Have you ever realized that certain homes leave you carrying burdens that were never yours to bear? That's not just an uncomfortable experience, that's a warning sign. Why people stay in toxic environments. Many people remain in chaotic homes out of habit, obligation, or misplaced loyalty. Some tell themselves, this is just how they are. Others convince themselves, I don't want to cause a problem by leaving. But here's the truth. A wise person does not seek out chaos. A wise person does not engage in conflicts that are not theirs to fight. Recognizing the cycle of drama negativity does not exist in isolation. It feeds on participation. If you engage in the gossip, you become a part of the problem. If you respond to their provocation, you fuel the fire. If you try to mediate their endless conflicts, you absorb their emotional weight. The more you allow yourself to be drawn into drama-filled environments, the more you sacrifice your own inner peace. But what if you chose a different path? What if, instead of getting entangled in their negativity, you simply walked away? Walking away is not weakness, it is wisdom. There is a false belief that if you care about someone, you must endure their chaos. That if you love your family, you must tolerate their dysfunction. That if you are a good friend, you must always listen to their complaints. But this is not true. You can care about people without allowing their chaos to consume you. You can love someone from a distance without sacrificing your peace. Your presence in someone's home should not come at the cost of your well-being. Your peace is more valuable than their approval. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. You are not responsible for fixing dysfunctional relationships. You do not have to carry the weight of other people's resentment. You do not have to absorb their negativity just because they refuse to change. When a home becomes a breeding ground for conflict, and when your visits leave you feeling more drained than fulfilled, you have a choice. You can stay and suffer, or you can leave and reclaim your peace. Your time is too precious to be wasted on negativity, Seneca once said. Time is the one thing that is given to us in equal measure, yet people waste it as if it were endless. Ask yourself, how much of your time have you wasted in spaces that left you feeling depleted? How many conversations have stolen your peace rather than nourished your soul? How often have you tolerated negativity because you felt obligated to stay? You do not owe anyone your time, energy, or peace, especially when their home only offers conflict, gossip, and chaos. A wise person understands your energy is finite. Your peace is worth protecting. Your time should be spent in places that uplift you, not drain you. Choose serenity over chaos the next time you enter a home and feel the weight of negativity. Remember, you have the power to walk away, not out of anger, not out of resentment, but out of wisdom. Because true peace is found not in fixing others, but in protecting yourself from what does not serve you. So, the next time you find yourself in a house filled with tension and negativity, choose to leave and choose your peace instead. 3. The home where you are only needed, not valued. There is a profound difference between being welcomed and being used. Some doors do not open out of genuine warmth, but out of necessity. In these homes, you are not invited as a cherished guest, but as a convenient resource, someone to help, to give, to serve. And when you have nothing left to offer, the invitations stop. At first, you may not notice the pattern. You might even convince yourself that these people genuinely appreciate your presence. But over time, a realization dawns: they only reach out when they need something. Your worth to them is measured by what you provide, not who you are. The moment you say no, their warmth turns cold. And that is the cruel reality. They do not value you. They value what you can do for them. The nature of transactional relationships. The Stoics teach us to recognize the difference between genuine connection and transactional relationships. Seneca reminds us, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. True relationships are built on reciprocity, mutual care, and shared values. But transactional relationships, they operate on a give-and-take system, except you are always the one giving. Have you ever received a call from someone, and before you even say hello, you already know they need a favor? Have you ever helped someone multiple times, yet the moment you needed support, they were nowhere to be found? Have you ever felt obligated to say yes, just to avoid disappointing someone who never truly valued your presence in the first place? That is your sign. How to recognize when you're being used. People who only need you, but do not value you, often exhibit the same behaviors. They only reach out when they need a favor. They do not check in on you. They do not ask how you are doing, but the moment they need something, they suddenly remember your number. Your relationship feels one-sided. You always make the effort, but they rarely, if ever, reciprocate. You are expected to be available, yet when you need help, they vanish. They make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. The moment you hesitate or say no, they act offended, as if your sole purpose is to serve them. They do not invest in your well-being. They may take your time, your energy, and your kindness, but they will not offer the same in return. When you need emotional support, they change the subject. When you need help, they make excuses. The emotional toll of being used. Many people remain in one-sided relationships for far too long because of guilt, obligation, or fear of confrontation. Some people say, they're family, I have to help them. I don't want to be seen as selfish. Maybe this is just how relationships work. But here's what you need to ask yourself. Does this relationship add to my life, or does it drain me? Do I feel valued, or do I feel like a tool to be used? If I stopped helping, would they still want me around? If the answer is no, then you are not in a relationship, you are in a transaction. And here's the harsh truth. People who truly care about you will never make you feel like an obligation. Why people stay in these relationships even when we recognize the signs, walking away is not easy. Why? Because we are conditioned to believe that saying no makes us selfish. We feel guilty for setting boundaries. We worry that if we stop helping, we will be abandoned. We hope that one day they will appreciate us. But hope cannot change reality. The truth is simple. If someone does not value you now, they will not magically start valuing you later. True relationships are built on mutual respect. A wise person does not measure relationships by the number of visits or favors exchanged, but by the sincerity behind them. True companionship does not demand, it gives freely. True connection does not manipulate, it supports. True respect does not disappear when there is nothing to gain. If someone only calls when they need something but never checks on you otherwise, they do not value you, they value your usefulness. And you deserve better than being someone's backup plan, emergency fund, or unpaid helper. The courage to walk away when you realize you are being used. You have two choices. Continue tolerating it, hoping they will change. Walk away and reclaim your time, energy, and self-respect. Many people fear walking away because they do not want to lose the relationship. But here's the truth. You are not losing a relationship, you are losing a one-sided burden. You are losing the feeling of being taken for granted. You are losing the obligation to always say yes. You are losing the cycle of being used over and over again. And what do you gain? Peace of mind, emotional freedom, the ability to invest in people who genuinely care. Final thought, choose respect over obligation. Have you ever been in a one-sided relationship where your efforts were not reciprocated? That's your sign. True companionship is mutual. It does not demand, manipulate, or disappear when there is nothing to gain. If a relationship only survives because of what you provide, then it is not a relationship, it is a transaction. And you are not an ATM, a therapist, or a convenience store. You are a person worthy of genuine love, appreciation, and respect. So, if you ever feel like you are only needed, but never truly valued, walk away, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. Because your time is precious and your presence is a privilege, not a tool to be exploited. 4. The home that feels like a burden. Have you ever visited someone and felt like a burden rather than a guest? You arrive expecting warmth, but instead, you are met with forced smiles and half-hearted greetings. Conversations feel obligatory rather than genuine. You notice the subtle glances at the clock, the sighs of impatience, the distracted responses. You sense it immediately. You are not truly welcomed. You are merely tolerated. At first, you may try to rationalize it, telling yourself, maybe they're just busy, or perhaps I'm overthinking. But deep down, you know the truth. Your presence is endured, not embraced. The Stoics teach us that dignity is found in self-respect. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says, or does, or thinks, but only at what he does himself to make it just and holy." A wise person does not beg for attention, nor do they impose where they are not truly wanted. If you feel like an inconvenience, take the hint. Stop knocking on doors that open reluctantly. Instead, choose spaces where your presence is valued, where you are met with joy, not indifference. Conclusion: choose peace, choose you. Some people will do anything to keep you within their orbit, but not because they care, because they crave control. When dominance fails, they turn to manipulation. When manipulation fails, they turn to guilt. When guilt fails, they turn to desperation. The best revenge against toxic spaces? It's not anger. It's not confrontation. It's living so fully and freely that they become nothing more than a distant memory. So the next time you feel unwelcome, manipulated, or drained, ask yourself, are they truly seeking connection, or do they just want to regain control? Because if they truly cared, they wouldn't need to manipulate you to keep you around. Walk away, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. If this message resonates with you, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Wisdom, and share your story in the comments below. Because life is too short to waste in places that do not nurture your soul.